All right, we want to look at two more divisibility tests. So the test for divisibility by 11 is a little complicated to say, but we'll do an example to help see what's happening here. So a whole number is divisible by 11 if and only if the sum of the digits in the places that are even powers of 10 minus the sum of the digits in the places that are odd powers of 10 is divisible by 11. So let's look at an example here. How about 3,245? Is that divisible by 11? So think about place value here. 5 is in the ones place, or the tens to the 0. 4 is in the 10 to the first place. 2 is in the 10 squared place, and 3 is in the 10 cubed place. So you notice our even powers and our odd powers alternate, right? So one way we could say this is we're looking at an alternating sum. So we're going to add, subtract, and we're going to start in the 10 to the zeros, or the ones place. So I'm going to add where it's even powers of 10. So 5 is going to be added, and then I'm going to subtract the odd powers of 10. So minus 4 plus 2 minus 3. Okay. In general, if you just remember, I'm going to start in the units place, and I'm going to take that number and subtract the next digit in the tens place, and then add, subtract, add, subtract. That's all we're doing. Okay, so 5 minus 4 is 1, plus 2 is 3, minus 3 is 0. So does 11 divide 0? The answer here is yes. Remember, 0 divided by any number is just 0. So since 11 divides 0, we can conclude that 11 divides our original number, 3,245. All right, how could I test for divisibility by 6? Well, it might help to recognize that 6 is 2 times 3. And so if a number is divisible by 6, it must be divisible by 2, and it must be divisible by 3. Now, this isn't going to work for every number that you can break down this way. So we'll see some examples, hopefully, in the homework. But here, it does work. So a number is going to be divisible by 6 if and only if and only if it is divisible by both 2 and 3. Okay, so that's going to be our test for divisibility by 6. Let's try putting all of this together. So the number, this is a really big number, 57,729,000. I can't even read it. Billions, millions, thousands, hundreds, right? This big number is really big. It's got too many digits for most calculators to display. Let's determine whether it's divisible by each of the following numbers. Okay, so let's start with 2. Our test for divisibility by 2 is to look at the last digit. The last digit is 3. Does 2 divide 3? No. So I'm going to call this whole number n, so I don't have to write it out again. And I'm just going to say no, because 2 does not divide the last digit, 3. Is it divisible by 3? Well, to determine divisibility by 3, I need to add up all of the digits. So I'm going to add up the digits in that number. 5 plus 7, 7, 2, 9, 3, 6, 4, 5, 8, 3. And if I add all those up, I get 59. Does 3 divide 59? You might need to do some scratch work, but what you should find is that 3 does not divide 59. So 3 does not divide n, our big number. What about divisibility by 5? When I'm checking for divisibility by 5, again, I want to look at the last digit and check if it's a 0 or a 5. It's not. So the answer is no, because it doesn't end in 0 or 5. Is it divisible by 6? Well, we just talked about the test for divisibility by 6. We have to check if it's divisible by both 2 and 3. If either of those were to fail, it would not be divisible by 6. In this case, both failed. So the answer here is no, since 2 didn't divide the number and 3 didn't divide the number. Is it divisible by 8? So to test for divisibility by 8, we're going to look at the last 3 digits and check if that's divisible by 8. So you might, again, need to do some scratch work off to the side. 583 divided by 8. 8 goes into 58 7 times. I'm going to subtract 56. I'm left with 23. 8 goes into 23 twice. And I'm left with a remainder of 7. So 8 does not divide 583. So 8 does not divide n. So no, since 8 does not divide the last 3 digits. What about divisibility by 9? We've already found the sum of the digits, so we just need to check, does 9 divide 59? And the answer is no. So no, since 9 does not divide the sum of the digits. What about 10? So our test for divisibility by 10 is to look at the last digit and see if it's a 0. It's not a 0, so nope. No, because last digit is not equal to 0. All right, and finally we have our test for 11. So remember, with our test for 11, we're going to start in the units place and we're going to do an alternating sum. So I'm going to look at 3 minus 8 plus 5 minus 4 plus 6 minus 3 plus 9 minus 2 plus 7 minus 7 plus 5. And if we add, subtract all of that, what I get is 11. And I need to check if 11 divides that alternating sum. Sure, 11 divides itself. So we can conclude that 11 does divide n. And that's our first positive answer here.